Let's get into it. So, as I mentioned, for the guys just tuning in, I do have my chat open on a separate screen. So feel free to leave questions, and we will get through it. Today, I should probably pull it up before I start sharing all my screens. Today, essentially, what we're talking about is mastering organic content. So, investing time for attention is what I like to call it. And I'm going to share my desktop with you guys. Share. Got it. Okay. So just in the quick chat, if you guys can just let me know that you can see a big white screen that says organic content mastery. Pretty sure I shared the right screen. And if anyone can confirm that, that would
Yes.
be amazing.
Yeah, it's on.
Beautiful.
You're good.
I kept it super simple this week because the content of this presentation and what you're about to see is going to be quite actionable. And I want to make sure that there's no confusing pictures or anything that pulls away from the actual content itself. So quick little summary for you guys who are new to my face. I was actually a copywriter and advertiser and marketer for about 12 years before becoming an agent myself. Yeah, it's been going really well in arguably the most down market that we've ever seen. Really enjoying helping you guys also produce more content and coincidentally more deals. So, what we are going to talk about today is why organic marketing actually works. And the definition of organic marketing is anything done with an investment of time, not capital. So, a few weeks ago, we were talking about paid advertising. Right now, we're talking about social or more traditional marketing where you're going to be writing cool stories and posts and all that and sharing that out. We're going to talk about traffic equity, and that might be a new word for you guys. We all know what home equity is. We're going to talk a little bit about what traffic equity is. Then we're going to look at the three content groups and how to categorize them. We're going to look at frameworks and examples. We're going to look at how to put it all together. And the last step is going to be unleashing you guys into the world to go out and create some phenomenal content. Excuse me. So, why it works. So, content marketing is perfect for younger agents or agents that don't have capital available to get into paid advertising yet. And I say this is an effort that should never really stop. You should always be doing content marketing. You should always be in your business, building relationships with your prospects through content production. Okay. So the goal is to essentially become a content machine because it has not only sales benefits, but it will also increase your brand, makes you more referable, makes people more likely to leave testimonials, and all of that comes full circle to creating a better business for yourself. So a lot of people will find that, early on when maybe they don't have a huge list of people to call, they'll invest the time to create content which then builds their brand, their awareness in their company, as well as makes it possible for people in their locale to find them. Okay. For the more established agents like myself, for example, and maybe a few of you in this room, I still do organic content while running paid traffic campaigns. The reason I do that is because Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all these platforms, they're primarily driven by keeping people engaged. So if me as an advertiser am spending, $20 a day or whatever, there's a certain amount of engagement that that investment creates with people who are already interested in ads. Whereas if I'm creating content marketing as well, that's where they get pulled in and watch, essentially free watch time for some of these platforms. This allows me to diversify my traffic streams, and it also makes me less dependent on this ad network. So if early on in my career I was investing $50 a day in ads, now I can pull back to 20 because I have both of them going. Okay. Lead quality. So one of the biggest barriers or challenges that people think they come across is poor lead quality on Facebook, Instagram, or anywhere online. And I think this does have some validity to it. A lot of these people are very cold. If at bare minimum they are kind of lukewarm, but if they've been consuming your content for an extended period of time and then they opt into your campaigns, then they're going to have some predisposed affinity to you and your brand. and it does increase the probability of them actually doing business with you. Lastly, it's going to boost your real and your perceived brand equity in the market. And what I mean by real and perceived is we know that, on a balance sheet, it's called goodwill. There's a certain amount of trust invested with somebody who has built up a lot of goodwill. Now, the perceived part, and I think this is really important, is because attention spans on social media and on digital platforms is very short. So for someone like myself, I just had a video go to, 250,000 views. I've pinned that to the top of my profile, which obviously that's the first thing people see. And they're like, wow, this guy is, people obviously like to engage with his content. I'll be the first to admit the rest of my videos have, 1,000 to 2,000 views, which I don't know. I think it's still reasonable, but it's, there's definitely perceived trust when more people are getting into seeing those kind of numbers versus people who are actually, regularly producing those on a regular basis. Okay. Traffic equity. This is the single most important thing for the rest of this presentation. And I want to make sure that we all get it. So I'm going to have a little check-in at the end of this slide. And once you guys kind of get the concept, I want you to say, yes, no, explain more. The best definition I could come up with of traffic equity is the available value and credit stored within the hearts and minds of your audience. It is incredibly intangible. It is not real. Um, but the way I think about it is that, these are people who are listening to you, they're engaging with you, and they have some affinity built to you. There's I call it kind of a gas tank. It fills up, empties, fills up, empties. And, it's very similar to a bank account. If you withdraw all your equity, your network doesn't really like you all that much, and they may not engage with your business. So when you start posting consistently, you're either building up or withdrawing from this traffic equity bank account. So is everyone kind of on board with my crazy idea of what this means? And be honest, because if it's something we need to dig in deeper, I really want to make sure that we get it. Traffic equity is the available value of and credit stored within the hearts and minds of the audience and keeps them either coming into our business or pushing away. Does that all make sense? Just drop a quick yes or no in the chat. Yep, Trevor's got it. Let's go with 3 yeps or yeps, and then I'm going to go ahead. Yes from Joey, yes from Geraldo. Awesome. I love explaining things and having it make sense. I have a 5 and a 4-year-old, and sometimes that's hard. So I'm glad you guys are supporting me here through my time. Now, let's talk about balancing the equity. So the biggest indicator of your business is obviously the amount of leads, calls, and sales that you're creating through your content. And this number of leads, calls, and sales is directly proportionate to the numbers of offers that you are making in the content presentation. Making offers, and what I mean by an offer is, I'm looking to meet with 4 homeowners or that are looking to sell in the next 30 days. I have a system that's going to work for you. That's a very direct offer, just kind of off the cuff and very unpolished. Making an offer will drain your equity, but you ultimately need it to make your content profitable. If you're continually just producing memes and, transitions and all that kind of stuff, which I think is very important, and we'll talk about that later, you may not be doing as much business as if you are making offers within the mix, right? And I think like when we talk about that mix, if you can get 80%, value, entertainment, and other equity building activities, and then 20% offers, you're going to be in a good position and you're going to have a well-balanced traffic equity account. Okay. Now, what 3 content groups do we get to essentially pull from to create content? And as much as, anyone wants to create millions of different ideas, they generally fall in these 3. So value, it endears your audience to you and your brand. It's generally the worst content to generate leads, but it's the best content to build equity. And what I'm going to do in a bit later on is actually show you exactly what ideas you can use for each content group. The second one is an indirect offer. And this is a combination of value and a direct offer. It does decrease your equity, but generally not as much as a direct offer. An example, really quickly of this so we can go in deeper is a story, right? You're going to tell a story and, have your challenges, your barriers, how you overcame them, and then offer that solution to somebody, right? So you've provided a story and a little bit of value and then an offer. With a direct offer, there's no question about it. Your audience will immediately know that you want something from them. There's no value in this outside of the offer itself. It decreases your equity the most, but it will most often generate the most amount of leads. An example of a direct offer would be, I'm going to work with 3 first-time home buyers in the next month to help you build, to help you acquire your dream home. DM below for, to start the process or whatever that might be. That's a very direct offer. There's no value other than I want to speak to 3 first-time home buyers, and here's my offer for you. Okay. Let's look at content principles. Now, what I mean by content principles is that these are themes that are going to make your content more enjoyable for people. Okay. And don't worry, if you want, you can take a quick screenshot if it goes through quick. We're also going to send out the recording. So you don't have to worry too much, and you can come back to this as much as you want. On the next slide, I'm going to share some really good resources that I found over the last decade and a bit on how you can build really great content. So the first thing is the headline hook, and this is the first sentence that stops the scroll. You have to invoke some curiosity and compel them to keep reading. Mark Ford is a copywriter who's written advertisements forever. He talks about the 4 U's. It needs to be unique, useful, urgent, and ultra specific. If you have 2 of these, it's enough. If you have 4 of them, amazing. So what that means is that your headline, so the first thing that people read, needs to stand out from the rest of the realtors. It needs to be somewhat useful. It needs to have some urgency, and it needs to be quite specific, right? An idea of this, when you think about an interest rate drop, at least for us in Canada, it happens too regularly, it feels like. It's around that time where every realtor in the world, or at least in Canada, is lambasting their network with interest rate cycle news, right? Get ahead of that, right? Start talking about what it could mean if it drops, what it could mean if it raises, what it could mean if it stays the same. Like, start to create content ahead of that so that you are on the mind when people flood the news feeds with updates. Okay. Second part after the headline is your promise. And this is the audience big benefit that they're going to get, right? This has nothing to do with you. As much as we all like to think, we're the best thing ever and we love our content, it's not about us, it's about our readers. So when I think about content creation, think of why 3. Why is it important to me? Me being not me, but me being the client or the reader. Why should I listen to you, you being who you are? And why should I listen right now? If you can answer those 3 questions in a promise to somebody, you'll capture their attention, you'll keep them reading. Now, open loops, and I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I've kind of thrown a couple in here, and this is, a little test of how we're looking at all of this, right? Because this presentation is copywriting, and I need to keep your attention until the end, right? I want to keep you guys engaged, and you use cliffhangers to do it, right? Some of the examples could be, stick around until the end to get this benefit or that benefit. Keep reading if, you struggle with blah, blah, blah. More on that in a second, right? So open loops are cliffhangers to the next part of your presentation, right? So back at the headline hook, if you remember correctly, I had said, stick around till after this page. I'm going to give you a list of resources. So I've already hooked you guys, and that's the loop that we're going to close off after this page, right? Because I bet some of you are thinking about the resources and how you're going to benefit from them. So there's another concept called the Big Four, and essentially what this is, it came from a book called Take Their Money, and it was a kind of an underground marketing book, which was kind of gritty and raw, which I liked. And the author essentially says all great content has some of the following elements. So there's, big or fast, new or only, right? So we're getting exclusivity there. Easy and safe, we're dealing with people's risk tolerance. Predictable and stable. You want to have some kind of big emotion that can tie to it. And it's generally when people start to see, new and improved. Well, realistically, that makes no sense, right? It can't be new and improved. It's either new or improved. But in marketing, it's come together, and that's just something that we've all accepted as exciting. And it just means that it's the newest version of whatever that might be, right? So that's one of those big four in practice. Okay. This is the most important part. And I've had people where, we've had a bunch of one-on-ones and they're like, I just don't understand it. My content, it's not getting the traction that I think it should be getting. And I go and look at it. And realistically, like you look at it and they look bored. They're absolutely bored while they're producing their content. And then they're putting that boredom out into the world. And I'm like, why do you look so miserable? And they're like, well, I'm reading on a teleprompter. I'm like, there's a lot of people that read on a teleprompter that have incredible animation. And if you're brand new to this, it's not to, put you down if you feel a bit uncomfortable. That's certainly warranted. We have to push past some elements of uncomfortability. They just genuinely didn't want to. We had been talking and they had, made a goal for themselves to start creating more content, but they actually didn't want to. They would rather have gone and knocked on a whole bunch of doors and have face-to-face interaction with people who can actually talk back to them. That's fine. Then they shouldn't have been doing content. Realistically, if they want to go out, pound the pavement for 8 hours a day, they are going to have an incredibly healthy business without ever producing a video online, right? If you are going to choose to produce content, you need to make sure that you are putting it out into the world because you want to help your network grow in information, in enjoyment, or whatever that might be, and drive them with intent, right? If you are sitting there going, I don't really want to do this, but Mike told me that I have to, it's not going to come out being the product that you want, and it's not going to be a good reflection of yourself. So always have purpose behind every piece of content that you put out. Now, I did promise you guys some resources, so take a quick screenshot if you want, or what you can do is just come back to the presentation and the recording once we send it out. So here's some of the best pieces that have helped me over the time. Markford.net. As I mentioned, he's a copywriter. He puts all of his work publicly online. So if you're ever needing some inspiration, head there. Brendan Kane wrote a book called Hook Point. He was, I believe at one point he was Taylor Swift's publicist. Really great guy. I've had a conversation with him. Phenomenal book. Great Leads by Michael Masterson. Pitch Anything by Oren Clough. Breakthrough Advertising by Eugene Schwartz. This is single-handedly my favorite book ever written about marketing. Coincidentally, it's everybody else's, and it's incredibly rare to find. I talked about it a few weeks ago, and someone went online to find it, and it was $600 on PayPal, eBay. So very, very rare to find. It's very expensive. If you guys get, a really huge commission check, I do recommend investing in it. And then the last one is Take Their Money by Kyle Milligan. He's kind of like an underground marketer that's a little bit raw. He's the one who talks about the big four. Excuse me. So these are pretty much the holy grails of marketing literature, in my opinion. Most of the things that are coming after this are all adaptations of this. Alex Hormozy's put out a couple of really great books. Almost all of it links back to breakthrough advertising. So there's a lot of really good literature today. Most of it's based on these books. So if everyone has their screenshots or is comfortable coming back to the recording, we're going to move on. Now, let's talk about the frameworks. And this is super important because this is what will make up your posts. And in a couple of slides, I'm actually going to share with you guys a full weekly calendar so that you can really simplify your content creation. And it's going to be based on these. So the first one, just to get it completely out of the way, direct offer, right? It's a very clear call to action to your audience. You want to specify how many people you want to help, who you're looking to help, when you're looking to help them, what results they'll get, and why they should do it. Very simple. I've alluded to this a couple of times. You're essentially saying, My name is Mike Ouellette. I'm an Ottawa realtor, and I'm looking to help five first-time home buyers acquire their first property by, end of 2024. If this is of interest to you, I am doing a seminar on XYZ. Here's why you should come. Call to action. There's your direct offer post. Super simple. Now, lifestyle. This is the one that we're all really great at. We want to show a glimpse into our personal and professional life, and most of the time, it's one and the same. This is completely up to you with how much you want to share. Usually, and in a weird way, family is generally the biggest way to attract people to your network who have a big affinity to you. I've made a choice to not have my kids on social media. It's a personal choice. And I know that if I did kind of pimp them out to the world, I would probably have a bunch more followers, but that's not where I want to be in my life. You're going to do everything the way you want to do it. So, lifestyle posts, you're going to be behind the scenes, day to day work, what you do in a day, how you help people. And, obviously, one of the best ways to do it is a sizzle reel of you just absolutely crushing it for your clients, right? So, if you have a listing, go ahead and do your walkthroughs, have some fun about how you're staging things or whatever that might be. It's really a way to build value in the lives of your prospects. So, with that, you are going to build up your traffic equity account in a huge, meaningful way. But this is not one that you generate a ton of leads on. Now, entertainment. This is where you really humanize yourself and you kind of lighten things up for your audience. um, your immediate kind of thought would be broke agents or some of those people that have a ton of really great content that you look at and it's hilarious, right? You lean hard on humor, stay positive in what you're covering. And, that's the memes, the transitions. You want to sprinkle them in. You don't want to become a meme farm because then there's really no professionalism behind it. It's a really good touch point to just throw in amongst everything else that you're producing. Testimonial posts. I'm hoping by now that, aside from Keon, who shared that he's a brand new agent, but he's going to have them going forward because I know he's on a phenomenal team. You build trust and authority with your audience by sharing testimonials. Now, one thing that we do as agents is we just kind of put it up, right? And let people read through it. That works to an extent, but the alternative is you could actually create a full case study and, show the journey of that testimonial, right? If you had someone who was an out of town buyer or, looking for a property for their kid, why don't you talk about, the pros and cons of buying versus renting in a, university town, right? Talk about how you showed the parents that they could actually invest for the future for roughly the same amount of money or whatever that might be. If you can find a way to make your testimonials more of a story backed by a testimonial, you're going to be in a much better position. And I can't believe that I have to say this. Obviously, make sure your testimonials are real. We live in a day and age where information is wildly accessible. I've seen it where people share testimonials that they've gone onto Canva, took a template and typed in their own words, and that review was nowhere else online. So people will qualify you through that. Please make sure that your testimonials are real and they're from somewhere on the internet, like Google reviews. Okay. One of the last pieces is information. You can create listicles with local information. And what I'm saying by this is, a list of information in bullet point. Most of the time, we're all going to default to here are the market stats of XYZ city. You can do that, and it does help to inform people. Alternatively, what you might want to consider is becoming a local guide. Here are the top 5 things to do with kids this weekend in Ottawa. Boom, out it comes. There you go. So Michelle just said, I just posted a testimonial today, screenshot of the Google review, input into a nice Canvas template. Perfect. Or Canva, sorry. So really great. That's a really great note. It's going to be definitely helpful. And what you can do, Michelle, is I would challenge you to see what you can do about creating a story around that testimonial and posting that up. But we'll take that one offline if you want some help doing that, because I know it's a lot to throw at you right away. So going back to it is listicles. You want to be essentially a local hero for these people, right? So giving them, list of solds, recent sales. Here's the market trend. That's important. I'm not pulling you away from that. But if you can create an affinity to, young families who are relocating to XYZ neighborhood, that's pretty specific, right? So when we go back to, the four U's, that is unique, that is ultra specific, it's urgent because there's a timeline, and it's useful, right? Coincidentally, if you want to tailor, let's say your market is predominantly bachelor condos, here are the top five things singles in Toronto can do, this weekend. Bang, 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 bang. And then take that one step further, go reach out to each of those places and be like, hey, I want to do a video with you guys, and we'll market. They'll they haven't said no, right? Now, the absolute holy grail of all of these content frameworks, the story framework sequence. Over the next two slides, what I'm going to do is show you exactly the framework that you're going to need to create arguably the most powerful post on social media. So you always start off with the headline hook. So you're going to start to see we're building into this. This is the opening line to the story that's going to stop people in their tracks. The next thing you're going to share is your shared challenge. So create some relatability with your audience by sharing a problem you were dealing with that they can relate to and may be struggling with in the current moment. For a lot of people in Canada, and I'm sure you guys are hearing it not as much these days as you were, a few months ago. Are you a first-time home buyer struggling with the high interest rate environment? You know, A person and B person were also in your shoes. This is what we went through, and this is what we struggled with, right? You open the story with the shared challenge, and then you're going to show enough background with them to paint a quick picture, and you bring them back to that specific feeling and scenario. So, a lot of first time homebuyers who've been struggling over the last few years with higher interest rate environments, multiple offers, every barrier that they come across, lower down payments, all that kind of fun stuff. You want to introduce the origin of this story with them. Okay. And we're not done yet because there's still the rest of the story to create. The After you share your origin and you bring them back to the point where they can actually feel the problem in the moment, you want to share with them the breakthrough. So you want to explain the moment that you broke through with your clients or with yourself. What did you need to face or what did you need to learn to break through the barrier? And then you put an offer in front of them. And this is where you're going to detail and how we intend to help the audience overcome the shared challenge. So, what we've done so far, we've captured their attention with a headline hook. We've introduced and created some relatability with a shared challenge. We talked through some of the moments and some of the barriers and the feelings behind it and how people were left feeling stuck. Then we introduce the solution, which is the breakthrough moment that you were able to solve. And now you want to offer this solution to other people who may be sharing in the same challenge. At the end of all this, they're going to be salivating, really excited to do business with you. And this is the most important step. You have to give them a call to action. You need to make sure that it's very simple, leave a comment, DM, click a link, send me a carrier pigeon, whatever that call to action is, it has to be there. I have seen people create some amazing stories and then they just end, right? And there's been times where I have wanted to opt into things but there was no call to action. It sounds so simple, but please do not forget your call to action. Okay. Now, let's talk about how we can bring this all together. And before we jump into this, I just want to do a quick little temperature check in the chat. Are we all doing good? How's everyone doing? Give me a 1 to 5, 5 being I'm enjoying myself and this is really, useful and fun, or 1, I've wasted an hour of my life. I want it back. Screw you. 10. Okay. Yeah. Let's do this. Dominic, you're my new favorite person. I'll send you the Venmo in a second here. 10, 5, 2 thumbs up. Well, that was a unique answer. 10. Perfect. Love seeing this. Unsurprisingly. Nice. I feel like we're friends now. All right. So let's put it all together because this is the single most important thing that we need to do this in the next 20 minutes or so. Okay. When you are deploying content, I want you to ask two things, right? How many leads do I have booking calls in my calendar? And how much equity have I built in my traffic equity account? Okay. This is two guiding principles which are going to help you balance whether or not the post that you are going to put out into your market is going to harm or help you. Okay. When you are brand new, like Keon, your equity account is absolutely maxed. You have not put out any social media content about being a realtor. You haven't annoyed people. Everyone's kind of looking to you as a guiding light to see what you get to do. You have the most amount of flexibility. If your leads and your calendar volume is light, you can lean a little bit heavier on making offers, knowing that you will have to catch up at some point to rebuild that traffic equity. As your production picks up, you'll want to balance your equity by leaning more towards value and entertainment again. Okay. And this balance is never perfect straight down the middle. It's very similar to a gas tank in a car. Sometimes it feels like it's running at 3/4 forever. Then you wake up the next morning, it's completely empty, and you're like, how did I let it get like this? And you have to go to the gas station, hopefully, and build it back up. So you want to make sure that you're continually monitoring your leads, your sales calls, all that fun stuff in proportion to the amount of value that you're giving to your network. Okay. So now that we've done it, I want you guys to think about something, and I'm skipping Sunday for a reason. Monday, you're going to write out an education post and an entertainment post. So, leaning hard on opening the week with value, you're going to provide some education, you're going to give some entertainment, and that's it. 2 posts a day. It sounds like very little. A lot of you will intend to leave with this information and try to do 2 a day. At some point, you will falter. Just know that it's okay. And you can always come back to this. This can be your guiding principle for content creation. And once you're done, you wash your hands of it and go out and make your calls. On Tuesday, you're going to do a soft offer post. Now, what I mean by that is, that's the share a story. How did you overcome it? What challenges did you face? How can people work with you? Give you a call, right? It's value, then offer, then CTA, call to action, sorry. And then you're going to share a listicle post. On Wednesday, you can be a little bit inspirational. Maybe you share a quote, maybe you share a video replay of some, financial guru or real estate guru, whatever that might be. You want to give some people a little bit of inspiration, and then you want to share your testimonial post. Thursday, direct offer post. You're leaning in hard. Hey guys, I'm at 123 Banana Street. And for the first 10 people that, pre-register for the open house this weekend, I'm going to give you a $5 Timmy's gift card or whatever that might be, right? You really want to test a whole bunch of offers here to try to make your weekend as busy as possible. And then you're going to share a lifestyle post. Ideally, this might be a lifestyle post of you driving to go set up some open house toppers, right? You really want to make sure that you're sharing your day to day with people. You're building credibility with them. You're building some rapport. On Friday, you can share a quote in the morning. It's super easy. And then an education post. Saturday, go with another soft offer and then a lifestyle post. The reason I left Sunday completely open, in a perfect world, you are going to be in a situation to, be at open houses, and you're going to post a tremendous amount of like reels and have some fun and whatever that might be. So Sunday is kind of a flex day. I generally keep it to stuff about real estate. That's kind of expected of realtors. Now, Michelle asks, post on your page or story posts? Great question. These are all page, like they're feed posts. What I would do is anything outside of this, add it to your story, because stories right now are getting a tremendous amount of traction with the algorithm as a great way of, you know, let's call it gap filler information. So, let's say you did your 2 posts and then you came across an interesting situation where someone asked a certain question, right? You could pop on and be like, "Hey guys, I was just asked, what's the minimum down payment on a home for a first-time home buyer? It's 5%, but actually you may want to, follow the 20, 30, and 3 rule or whatever that might be." Like you want to use stories as a way to capture people's attention throughout the day versus these are going onto your feed so that people will see them in perpetuity, ideally. Okay. So I'm going to leave this up, see if there's any more questions specifically about this. Everyone get your screenshots, everyone get your, recording saying, I'm going to go back and make sure that I do this all the time. Now, when it comes to multi-channel posting, and I did share something two trainings ago where, I kind of said this would be the holy grail of content production, but it was a more advanced strategy. If you are taking this in and, social media is newer to you or, you're just starting out or whatever, I would recommend starting on 1 to 2 traffic channels or platforms, right? Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, those are the easiest to get started, and you would pick one of them as your centerpiece for content. So, what I mean by that, for me, I share everything on Instagram, and then I just automatically feed it through to Facebook. So, I have Instagram, and that's my centerpiece of content. All of the content is made specifically for Instagram, and then it'll funnel into Facebook. I don't personally have TikTok. I've already talked about why. This body doesn't dance, so it's all good. Regardless of what you pick for your selected platform, always incorporate these strategies. Email regularly, which, for myself, the reason I put regularly instead of a certain number of times is because it's going to be as much as your network will consume. For me and my list, I write 3 emails per week. I do a deal of the week, a market update, and then a longer allegorical email where I share a story. Um, Now at a point where I have very high open rates, I have high click-through rates and very low unsubscribe and bounce rates. But that's been a byproduct of 3 years of continually pruning my email list. Okay. Post in free communities and groups. And what I mean by that is Facebook groups, Instagram broadcast, whatever network that you guys are in, Discord, whatever that might be. And then obviously call your leads because that's how you're going to create a more meaningful relationship. So you've posted all this great content, you've generated some leads. Don't let it stop there, right? Continue to contact them on your private channel communications, right? In social media terms, that's a public channel of communication, right? It's going out to a very large group of people. Private channel is what we have control over directly to them. Okay. Now, I've had people, be like, oh, groups are working really well for me. And other people where, it's gone horribly, horribly awry. So we looked at it, and it's important to talk specifically about groups. You need to be very tactful about it. So if you're in a community group on Facebook, you're always building equity, your traffic equity, sorry, through answering other people's questions, supporting them, and commenting in meaningful ways. And only when a considerable amount of equity is built, you can mask your value response and have, a soft offer that people might take you up on. And I put this in big bold letters: never, ever, ever make a direct offer in a group. It's gross, and it's a very quick way to lose an entire community very quickly. Okay. So if you guys are in Facebook groups or whatever, answer the questions, help people out, be supportive, be frequent in the group, but never make a direct offer. Okay. If you're ever in a situation where you've built up enough equity, you'll actually be in a situation where people will follow your personal page and maybe share a post into the group, but never make your direct offer into the group. I cannot be more um, adamant about getting this point across. I've seen it, pie in the face for a lot of people. Do not make a direct offer in a group. Okay. Now, big question for you guys as we kind of close this off and before we get into question and answers. Who's going to take this and implement their new harmonic system immediately? This is what I really want to know because this is the value. If you guys have been watching along and you're like, this is great information, see you later, or this is great information and I think it can be very meaningful to my business, I'm going to do it tomorrow or today. Let me know in the chat. I'm really curious to know. Well, we got some typing. Who's going to get to it first? Michelle with the raised hand. Love it. Awesome. And just know, guys, if you can do one post a day, that's almost further ahead than most people on social media right now, right? 2 is solid. And I know that someone's going to ask in the questions, what's the best time to post? The best time to post is yes. Just do it. In a perfect world, you put it out there and then you let the algorithm take care of putting content in front of people's faces. The overlords at Meta and everywhere else are way smarter than we'll ever be. There's no time to trick the system. And the biggest one I saw about that, I was scrolling around like 11 p.m. or something like that. And some guy that I followed came up and was like, "Why are you still scrolling? You need to go to bed, man." And that post was posted at 11 a.m. So doesn't matter what time you post your content, the algorithm is going to decide when people see it. And that runs our lives. Let's hit up any questions, guys. I'm really excited to open it up to you guys who have stuck around to the end. If you guys got to go, you guys got to dart, but we got about 10 minutes or so for questions. So I'm just opening it up to you guys, whether in the chat or using your voice.